I never thought I'd hold a gun to my own brother's head. Not literally, but in the way that matters most in this cutthroat world: power, leverage, the kind that ends careers with a whisper. It was Thanksgiving dinner, the turkey still steaming on the table in our family's cramped Chicago row house, when he leaned back in his chair, beer in hand, and laughed. "Esther, seriously, when are you going to stop being a leech? Mom's money isn't infinite." The room froze, forks hovering midair. But I just smiled, because that was the night I decided to bury him alive in the empire he'd stolen from me. And the best part? No one saw it coming, not him, not his smug Wall Street buddies, not even the ghost of the secret I'd carried for him since we were kids. What he didn't know, what no one knew, was that the jobless label he'd slapped on me like a scarlet letter was the lie I'd let fester to protect him from the fallout of his first big screw-up, back when we were both green and ambitious. 15 years ago, fresh out of Northwestern, I'd landed that dream gig at Apex Financial, a rising star in the fintech game, coding algorithms that could predict market crashes before the suits even smelled the smoke. Ethan, my golden boy brother, 2 years younger and always chasing my shadow, had tagged along for an internship, but he couldn't hack it. Panicked. He'd botched a client demo, leaked proprietary data to a competitor in a desperate bid to look competent. It was embezzlement by proxy, a felony that would have landed him in federal prison. But I covered for him, forged the logs, took the blame for oversight, and got blackballed from every firm in the city. "Family first," I'd whispered to the investigators, my voice steady as I signed away my future. Ethan got a slap on the wrist, a glowing recommendation from our dad, a mid-level exec there, and climbed the ladder while I scraped by on freelance gigs, couch surfing between temp jobs, the weight of his freedom crushing my lungs every night. By the time he mocked me at that dinner, Ethan was a VP at Apex, lording over mergers that made headlines, his circle of Harvard bros toasting his ascent at rooftop bars overlooking the Loop. They'd all bought into the narrative. Esther the failure, the burnout case who'd peaked too early. "You're what, 32 now? Still crashing on mom's couch?" He'd texted me the week before, attaching a photo of his latest bonus check, 6 figures, enough to buy a condo in Lincoln Park. I replied with a thumbs-up emoji, because why spoil the surprise? I'd been plotting for months, ever since I clawed my way back into the game undercover. No dramatic reinvention montage, just quiet infiltration. I'd changed my name on LinkedIn to E. Harlow, dyed my hair blonde, and started as a junior analyst at a rival firm, siphoning intel like a ghost in the machine. Apex was hemorrhaging talent, ripe for a hostile takeover, and I had the scars to know exactly where to strike. The hook sank deeper when I discovered the rot wasn't just Ethan's old sin, it was a cancer. While I'd been exiled, he'd built his throne on more stolen bricks. Those friends of his? A cabal of insiders who'd rigged insider trades, funneled kickbacks through offshore shells, and buried whistleblowers under NDAs thicker than concrete. One night, scrolling dark web forums on a burner laptop in a Wrigleyville dive bar, I pieced it together. Emails, encrypted ledgers, a trail leading straight to Ethan's corner office. He'd flipped on his own mentor years back, ratting him out to the board for a promotion, then looped in his crew to cover the tracks. The mentor? That was Dad, who'd quietly retired early with a heart condition that smelled like a payout to shut him up. Ethan had betrayed blood for boardroom glory, and now it was my turn to return the favor. I didn't rush it. Revenge isn't a sprint, it's a slow bleed. The kind that leaves you questioning if the knife in your hand is justice or just another scar. Over the next few weeks, I fed anonymous tips to the SEC, disguised as a disgruntled trader from a podunk brokerage. Nothing big at first, just enough to rattle cages, make the suits sweat during earnings calls. Ethan texted me sporadically. All faux concern. Hey sis, you okay? Mom says you're between opportunities again. I'd fire back with memes about adulting fails, keeping the mask intact. But inside, the rage simmered, a Chicago winter wind howling through cracked windows. I remembered the nights after the scandal, when I'd wake up gasping, convinced the feds were at the door, while Ethan partied at Berghoff, schmoozing the elite. He'd sent me a care package once, a 6-pack of Goose Island and a Hallmark card. Chin up, asked. You'll bounce back, bitch. I thought, reading it now. You'd better hope I don't. The first crack appeared at his firm's holiday gala, a glittering affair at the Art Institute, where black ties mingled with Basquiat knockoffs under chandeliers that dripped like melting gold. I'd scored an invite through a fake +1 from a mark I'd seduced at a networking mixer. Nothing physical. Just enough flirtation to borrow his name on the guest list. Slipping in like a shadow, I nursed a gin and tonic at the bar, eyes locked on Ethan holding court with his pack, Jax, the silver-spooned quant with a coke habit, Lena, the cutthroat lawyer who drafted their dirty deals, and Marco, the Italian import who laundered their gains through art flips. They were laughing about that idiot intern who almost tanked the Q3 report, code for some poor kid they'd scapegoated last month. Ethan's voice carried, classic Apex, eat the weak, feed the strong. I nearly choked on my drink. Strong? You'd be rotting in Supermax if it weren't for the weak ones standing 10 feet away. That's when I made contact. Not with him, with the weakest link. Jax, eyes bloodshot from whatever he'd snorted in the bathroom, wandered over for a refill. I played the ingenue, wide-eyed consultant, fresh from Stanford, dying for a mentor. Mr. Hargrove, your TEDx talk on predictive analytics, game changer. Flattery's a hell of a drug. Cheaper than his vices. Within 20 minutes, he was spilling off-the-record gripes about Ethan's unhinged power plays, hints at the slush fund they dubbed the Brotherhood Pot. I nodded, laughed at the right beats, my phone's voice recorder catching every syllable like a spiderweb snaring flies. By the end of the night, Jax had my burner number, promising to loop me in on the next big thing. Ethan spotted us from across the room, his brow furrowing. Jealousy? Suspicion? Good. Let it fester. Back in my sublet in Pilsen, graffiti-splashed walls, and the constant hum of the L train, I transcribed the audio, cross-referencing with the dossiers I'd hacked from Apex's cloud server. Old sysadmin tricks die hard, a phishing email to IT support, and boom, backdoor access. The files painted a masterpiece of malice, Ethan greenlighting a pump-and-dump scheme on green energy stocks, Lena forging docs to implicate a rival CEO in harassment to steal his Rolodex, Marco fencing insider tips to hedge funds in the Caymans. And woven through it all, like a venomous thread, was me, the ghost in their origin story. Ethan's rise speech to new hires? I learned from my sister's mistakes. She taught me what not to do. Lies. All of it. But the real gut punch was the email chain from a decade ago, him thanking the board for handling the Harlow incident discreetly, attaching my confession as leverage. Harlow. My maiden name, the one I'd buried with my career. He'd sold me out twice, once to save his ass, again to build his myth. January hit like a freight train, snow blanketing the streets in a hush that amplified every footstep. I escalated. Dropped the first bomb, an SEC filing, redacted just enough to point fingers without naming names. Apex stock dipped 3%. Whispers of internal audit rippling through Bloomberg terminals. Ethan called me the next day. Voice tight. Est. You hear about the old firm? Messed up. Right? Good thing you're out of that game. Subtext, stay down. Loser. I played along, yeah. Dodged a bullet, but inside, I was scripting his eulogy. The exposure had to be surgical. A reveal that stripped him bare without torching the whole building. Because here's the controversial part, I didn't want Apex to burn. Not yet. It was mine by right, the code I'd written still powered their core engine. The one netting billions. Firing him? That was personal. Exposing the friends? Collateral. But necessary to isolate him. Make him taste the alonement I'd endured. I recruited unwitting allies next. Lena's assistant, a mousy paralegal named Riley who'd been demoted for incompetence. Read, asking too many questions. Got a tip from my anonymous Gmail, screenshots of Lena's emails, time-stamped to her personal server. Riley forwarded it to HR with a note. Not sure if this is legit. But, boom, internal investigation launched. Lena sidelined pending review. Marco? Easier. His art dealer's side hustle left a paper trail a mile wide. I tipped off a nosy reporter at the Tribune. Framing it as Wall Street's Renaissance man or money launderer? The piece dropped midweek. Photos of his overpriced Picassos splashed across page A12. He lawyered up. Vanished from the group chat Ethan thought I didn't know about. Ethan started unraveling. Late-night voicemails. Sis, something's off at work. You got any connections? Freelance intel. Desperation's a great equalizer. I strung him along, feeding half-truths to buy time. By February, I'd maneuvered my way onto Apex's radar. Harlow, the wunderkind consultant from a boutique firm, pitching an AI overhaul that fixed their leaky security. The bored bit, I was in for interviews. My face hidden behind subtle makeup and a pantsuit that screamed competence. The climax brewed during the final pitch. A virtual boardroom crammed with execs on Zoom. Ethan's pixelated scowl filling half my screen. That's when I dropped the hammer. Ladies and gentlemen, I said, my voice steady as Lake Michigan ice, clicking through slides that weren't about algorithms at all. The screen filled with redacted SEC docs. Wire transfers. Ethan's signature blooming like bloodstains. Gasps echoed through the speakers. Muted mics be damned. This isn't a pitch. This is a reckoning. Apex has been rotting from the inside, courtesy of one man, Ethan Harlow. His face went ashen, mouth opening like a landed fish. Esther? What the? The chat exploded. Who is this? Kill the feed. But I was locked in. Admin privileges courtesy of that backdoor. I laid it out cold. The internship sabotage. My scapegoating. His decade of dirty deals. Screenshots of his emails to Jax and the crew. Promising eternal brotherhood over bottles of Pappy Van Winkle. The board silence was thunderous. I'd CC'd the full unredacted files to their inboxes seconds before. Ethan didn't build Apex. I continued. My reflection in the webcam a stranger. Fierce. Unyielding. He hijacked it. From me. From all of you. Chaos erupted. Legal threats. Frantic sidebars. Ethan bolted from his office, slamming his laptop shut. But it was too late. The feed captured it all, his unraveling in real time. Fired on the spot. Via emergency vote. The HR drone's email hit his inbox mid-meltdown. Termination effective immediately. Escort required. I watched via a hidden cam I'd planted in his desk lamp. Poetic. Really? Turning his surveillance kink against him. Security hauled him out like yesterday's trash. His Brooks Brothers tie askew, babbling about family betrayal to anyone who'd listen. The crew scattered. Jax checked into rehab that night. Lena sued for defamation and lost spectacularly. Marco fled to Milan with a warrant warming his heels. Exposed. Everyone. The headline screamed fintech scandal. VP ousted in sibling showdown. My face blurred in the stock photo. But the whispers knew. You'd think that'd be the high, the sweet sting of symmetry. But revenge is a double-edged blade. And mine nicked me deep. Mom called that evening. Voice cracking over the line from her assisted living in Evanston. Esther. What have you done? He's your brother. I paced my apartment. The city lights mocking me through frost-laced windows. He did it first.
Mom. To me.
To Dad. Silence. Then a sob. Your father. He knew. About the cover-up. It killed him. Esther. The shame. The heart condition? Stress-induced. From watching his son devour his legacy. I'd avenged Dad without knowing.
But the cost twisted like a knife.
Was I the hero? Or just the monster he'd raised? Ethan showed up at my door at 2 a.m. Rain-soaked and wild-eyed. Pounding like Judgment Day. I let him in, why not? Let him see the throne he'd tried to deny me. The sublet was sparse. Second-hand couch. Walls papered in printouts of his sins. He collapsed against the doorframe. Whiskey on his breath.
How?
How long?
Asked.
I poured us both shots from a bottle of Tito's. The burn steadying my pulse. Since the gala. Since you called me a leech. He laughed. Bitter and broken. Leech? I gave you chances, jobs. Intros. You threw it away. Lies.
Still.
But there was a crack in his armor. A plea in his eyes. It was survival.
Sis.
The world eats the slow. I protected us from poverty, from being nobodies. Protected us? The audacity ignited me. I shoved the laptop under his nose. Replaying the boardroom feed, his downfall looped like a Greek tragedy. This is protection? You flipped on Dad.
On me?
On everyone for a corner office. He grabbed my wrist. Grip too tight. Eyes flashing that old schemer's glint. And you? Hacking us. Playing puppet master? You're no better. We could have run it together, Harlow and Harlow. Unstoppable. For a split second, I wavered. The dream we'd whispered as kids, conquering Wall Street. Side by side. But he'd poisoned it. Turned ambition to arsenic. I wrenched free, dialing 911 on speaker. Intruder at my residence. Send someone. His face crumpled, betrayal's mirror. Cops hauled him away in cuffs. Not for the scandals, those were civil. But for the threat in his voice. The way he'd loomed. You'll regret this.
Asked.
Blood's thicker. Thicker than the ink on his termination letter? Doubtful. The next day's blurred. Media hounds at my stoop. LinkedIn exploding with congrats from ghosts of my past. Apex offered me the VP slot, ironic. Handing me his crown on a platter. I took it. Of course. Walked into that glass tower on a Monday in March. Heels clicking like victory marches. My real name blazing on the directory. Esther Harlow. Executive Vice President. Risk and Compliance. The irony? My first mandate. A full audit. rooting out the rot he'd sown. Employees parted like the Red Sea, whispers of the sister trailing me like smoke. But the tension coiled tighter than ever. Jax reached out from his Betty Ford haze. Spilling more, Ethan's flips weren't just professional. He'd betted Lena to seal a deal, then ghosted her for a merger play, framed Marco for a minor infraction to hog the glory. The man was a chameleon, shedding skins for survival. Decisions that'd make Machiavelli blush. Controversial? Hell yes. One board memo I'd unearthed detailed how he'd greenlit layoffs during COVID, thousands axed to juice stock prices, while donating millions to optics charities. Savior or sociopath? The line blurred, and I hated that it did. Because exposing him meant exhuming my own complicity, I'd enabled it all by staying silent, by loving him enough to lie. Nights grew long, haunted by what-ifs. What if I'd ratted him out back then? Would Dad be alive, puttering in his garden instead of a plot in Rose Hill? What if I cut a deal now, pull strings, bury the worst files, let him slink back as a consultant? The devil on my shoulder whispered mercy. The angel, scorched by betrayal, demanded fire. I chose the middle path, testify. When the SEC subpoenaed me, I didn't lawyer up to minimize. I laid it bare, the cover-up, the empire of deceit, my role as unwilling architect. Ethan Harlow didn't act alone, I told the panel, voice echoing in the fluorescent hearing room. He built on my sacrifice, then burned the ladder behind me. Flashbulbs popped, pundits on CNBC debated. Whistleblower or vendetta? Split the nation, feminists cheering the sisters strike back, bros decrying family warfare in the C-suite. Ethan's trial loomed in April, a spectacle in federal court downtown, where the air smelled of old coffee and older grudges. I was the star witness, striding past protesters with signs, justice for the jobless, and blood money equals blood on hands. He looked small in the dock. Armani traded for ill-fitting khakis, his flips on full display as he plea bargained, throwing Jax and Lena under the bus for leniency. They pressured me, he claimed, voice cracking. The judge, a no-nonsense black woman from the South Side, eyed him like yesterday's news. Mr. Harlow, your family's testimony suggests otherwise. My words, weaponized. The verdict dropped like a gavel on glass. 5 years. Restitution in the millions. No slap on the wrist this time. As marshals led him away, our eyes met, mine steel, his shattered. Why, est, he mouthed. I leaned into the mic. Final statement. Because family protects. You forgot that. The courtroom erupted. Outside, rain lashed Michigan Avenue, washing the city clean. Or so I thought. Summer sweltered in, turning Chicago into a pressure cooker of humidity and half-truths. Apex thrived under my watch. Stock rebounded 15%. Headlines dubbing me the cleanup queen. Board meetings became my coliseum, where I gladiatored with relics of Ethan's regime. Decisions that left me staring at the ceiling till dawn. Fire the loyalists who'd turned blind eyes? Or rehabilitate? Risk the relapse? I chose purge. Controversial. Sure. But surgical. Emails leaked. Harlow's witch hunt. Pundit split. Progress or paranoia? I didn't care. The tension was my oxygen. Sharp as the magnificent Miles skyline. Ethan wrote from MCC. Those stamped envelopes a lifeline or a noose. At first, rage scribbles. You destroyed us. Mom won't visit. Then, cracks. I get it now. The weight you carried. Forgiveness? A luxury for the unscarred. I burned them in the sink. The flames dancing like the secrets we'd shared as teens, bike rides along the lakefront, dreams of escaping the South Side grind. He'd always been the charmer. Flipping teachers' frowns to A's. Me the grinder. Code in my veins like caffeine. Betrayal's sting? It inverted us. I became the flipper. Decisions veering from mercy to malice on a dime. The twist hit in July. A heatwave mirage that shattered everything. A lawyer's letter arrived, crisp as a subpoena, Ethan's appeal, claiming new evidence. Enclosed, a USB drive, labeled for estate only, heart-pounding. I plugged it in a video file, time-stamped to the night of the boardroom coup. Not my feed, but his hidden cam from his phone, capturing me mid-hack months earlier. Timestamps aligning with the phishing scam. Insurance, his note read. In case you ever turned. Son of a bitch. He'd known, suspected my infiltration. Let it play out to bait the trap. The flips continued. He'd fed me crumbs through Jack's, knowing I'd bite. Planning to expose me as the rogue insider if the SEC heat turned his way. Controversial genius, framing his own sister as the mastermind, turning victim to villain in one fell swoop. Panic clawed my throat. If this dropped, I'd be the one in cuffs, hacking, fraud, the works. Apex would crumble, my redemption dust. But deeper, the moral quicksand. Had he mocked me at dinner to provoke, planted the seeds of my rage, knowing it'd bloom into his alibi? No one right, no one wrong, just two Harlows devouring each other in a cage of our making. I drove to the prison that night, the Dan Ryan a blur of taillights and torment. Visiting hours long over, but a guard, bribed with a crisp 100, slipped me in. He sat across the plexiglass, orange jumpsuit clashing with his pallor, eyes gleaming with that old schemer's spark. You watched it.
Statement.
Not question. I gripped the receiver, knuckles white.
Why?
Why not use it sooner? He leaned in, voice low. Because I needed you to fire first. Make it personal.
Now.
We trade. Drop the appeal. I bury the drive. Or we both burn. The offer hung. A devil's bargain. Walk away, queen. Or fight and fall together. The room spun, guards' radios crackling. Fluorescent buzz like angry bees. This was the climax I'd craved, but twisted, revenge's mirror, forcing me to choose between crown and conscience. I chose wrong.
Or right. Hard to say.
Deal, I whispered. But not before palming a contraband phone from my purse, a burner.
Synced to his.
As I left, I texted the drive's IP trace to a DOJ contact. Anonymous tip. Inmate tampering. By morning, the appeal was denied. Ethan slapped with obstruction charges, another 5 tacked on. The drive?
Confiscated.
Wiped clean. I kept the VP gig, but the shine tarnished. Mom visited once. Frail in her wheelchair. Eyes accusing. You could have stopped at firing him. Could have. But stopping short would have left the beast alive. Fall deepened. Leaves carpeting Grant Park in crimson regret. The crew's remnants circled back, Jax. Clean now. Begging for a reference, Lena. Disbarred. Hawking true crime podcasts about the Harlow heist. I ignored them, burying myself in work. But the debates raged online, Reddit threads dissecting Esther's ethics. Vigilante or vixen? TikTok's split Gen Z. Sister slave versus family first. No heroes. Just humans clawing for air in America's merit myth. Ethan's last letter arrived in November. Postmarked from Solitary. You won.
Sis.
But did you? Enclosed. A photo. Us kids at the Taste of Chicago. Cotton candy grins. Whirled at our feet. I framed it on my desk. A talisman against the void.
Victory tasted like ash.
But it was mine. Jobless no more. Mocked no more. Fired him. Exposed them. Claimed the scraps. Yet in quiet moments, staring at the bean's warped reflection, I wondered, was the revenge the betrayal? Or just the echo? Chicago churned on, indifferent, its pulse syncing with mine, dark, tense, eternally divided. The end? Not tragic, not quite happy. Just American, messy, mired in the gray where right and wrong flip like coins in the wind. And if Ethan ever walks free, I'll be waiting. Blood's thick, but grudges are thicker. Winter circled back, a remorseless loop, snow muffling the city's sins under a blanket of white lies. By December, I'd solidified my grip on Apex, restructured divisions, poached talent from Silicon Valley, turned the scandal into a selling point, from ashes to algorithms. Press junkets painted me as the phoenix, but mirrors lied, dark circles etched my eyes. A roadmap of sleepless audits and anonymous threats. Ethan's crew had ghosts, die-hard loyalists slipping malware into my inbox. Whispers of payback in the break room. I doubled security, but paranoia was the real chain, rattling louder than the L at rush hour. The final twist uncoiled at the holiday party. Same Art Institute gala where it had all ignited. This time, I was the host, black gowns sweeping the marble like a conqueror's cape. Champagne flutes raised to resilience. Toasts rang hollow. Eyes darted, searching for the knife. Jack slunk and late, sober suit hanging loose, cornering me by the Monet. Esther. Hear me out. He wasn't the villain. None of us were. Bullshit elixir. But he spilled anyway. The drive wasn't insurance. It was a cry for help. Ethan had recorded me to force a confrontation, to drag the family skeleton into the light before the empire imploded. He knew the trades were toxic insomnia, coke binges. Wanted you to pull the ripcord together. Flips again. Schemer to savior? My stomach nodded. Had I misread the mockery? The texts? Provocation. Not poison? Lena crashed the after-party. Uninvited. Her podcast mic like a loaded gun. One interview. Esther. The truth for the narrative. Truth? Hers was a sob story, jilted by Ethan. Framed by me. Clawing for clicks in the cancel culture coliseum. We dueled in the coat check. Voices hushed over for trimmed lies. You exposed us to play martyr, she hissed. But you're just like him, flipping loyalties for the spotlight.
Touché.
Marcos Skyped from exile. A pixelated plea. The art was legit. Your tip was the frame. Splits deepened, his friends painting me the betrayer. The one who'd borne no crime, but invented them all. Doubt festered. A Chicago cold sore. I visited Ethan again. This time official, lawyer in tow. Recorder whirring. Solitary had hollowed him. Cheeks gaunt. Spirit aflicker. The drive? I demanded. He met my gaze. No schemer's glint.
Bait. To make you fight back.
I deserved the fall. The mockery was the shove. Confession poured. The internship panic. Dad's quiet enabling. The flips as fear, clawing up from nothing. Terrified of the drop. You took the hit so I could fly. I clipped your wings instead. Tears tracked his face, Mine stayed dry, armored. But the crack widened. Had I avenged? Or amplified the cycle? His crime mine by proxy. My revenge his by blood. The board caught wind. Leaks. Always leaks, forcing a vote. Retain or resign. Tension peaked in that glass airy. Rain lashing like accusations. Exec split. Half hailed my overhaul. Half decried the personal vendetta tainting the brand. I stood at the head. Dossier in hand, not scandals. But projections, Apex's rebirth under me. Billions secured. Decide, I said. But know this, I didn't start the fire. I just fanned it. They voted yes, narrow. 7-5. Controversial to the core, leaving scars on all sides. No clean wins in this game. New Year's Eve. I stood alone on my balcony, overlooking the frozen river. Fireworks blooming like bruises. Mom called. Voice softer. He's transferring to minimum security. Says to tell you. Proud. Proud? Of the wreckage? But maybe that's the twist, no final villain. Just survivors stitching flags from frayed threads. I didn't fire him out of hate alone. It was love's ugly twin. The fierce kind that demands reckoning. Exposed his friends? To free the firm from their fangs. Yes, but also to isolate him. Force the mirror. Debate rages still, forums buzz. Op-eds clash. Was Esther's revenge righteous? Or ruinous? Split the readers. Some cheer the underdog's uprising. Others mourn the fraternal fracture.
Me?
I sip black coffee in my corner office. Code humming under my fingers. The weight lighter, but never gone. Jobless days forged this blade. Mockery honed it. If blood calls, I'll answer, not with guns, but with the quiet thunder of choices that echo forever. And in the gray dawn of another American hustle, that's victory enough. Or damnation. You decide.